Hello and welcome to my guided meditation story about a Cavoodle named Connie and her very first day at school. Begin by finding a nice comfortable position. You can sit on a chair, sit on the floor, or even lay down, whatever helps you to feel safe and supported. Now close your eyes or soften them a little. Relax your shoulders and place your hands in your lap or by your sides. Take a slow, gentle breath in through your nose and slowly and gently breathe out through your nose. And once again, take a deep, gentle breath in all the way down to your belly and gently breathe out through your nose. And one more time, breathe in through your nose, down into your belly, and slowly breathe out. Cool air breathing in, warm air breathing out. And now that you are feeling comfortable and relaxed, I will begin the story of Connie, the courageous Cavoodle. Connie the Cavoodle was a friendly little puppy who had the kindest brown eyes you ever did see. She had silky, gingery, curly fur with little patches of white here and there. She had floppy ears that bounced when she ran and a soft, fluffy tail that often wagged when she was having fun. Connie was feeling very excited. She had just finished her training to be a children's wellbeing dog and was soon to start working at a very nice primary school. Connie's job was to bring a sense of peace and happiness to everyone she met. On the night before her very first day, Connie started to feel nervous about starting her new school. She felt like she had butterflies in her tummy and was finding it hard to sit still. Connie's mum, Mrs. P, noticed that she looked a bit worried and said to Connie that it was okay to feel a little nervous, especially when starting something new. Mum talked to Connie about what to expect at her new school and said there were many things she knew Connie would love. There were friendly children, teachers and staff, places to run and explore, like big stretches of grass and little hills, flower beds, and even a vegetable garden. Connie would also have her own special quiet place to rest when she needed, and her own bowls to drink and eat from. Connie's mum said it was important to have a good night's rest so that she would wake up feeling refreshed and energized the next morning. Connie nodded at her mum, stepped into her basket, and laid her head on her comfy cushion, surrounded by her favourite toys. Connie closed her eyes and imagined herself in her happy place, running in the park, chasing butterflies. She took a gentle deep breath in and out, in and out, and soon fell fast asleep. The very next morning, Connie's mum gently woke her, gave her something to eat and drink, and helped her to get ready for school. Mum brushed her fur, put on her coat, clipped on her lead, and lifted her into the car. After Mum put on Connie's seatbelt, Connie started to feel very excited, and they drove to school for her very first day. When Connie arrived in the car park, her mum opened the door and she jumped out of the car, looked both ways, and then trotted across the driveway to enter the front door of the main office. Her mum showed her to the room where she would eat her food, drink her water, and have a quiet rest when needed. Connie loved her new room and the cosy little doghouse she would be sleeping in. It had a comfy blanket, a pillow, and some new little toys. Connie felt comfortable and safe and was now ready to meet some of the staff. Connie trotted out of her room and into the front office. She met the school principal, Ms. B, and the ladies at the front desk. Connie felt a little shy and nervous when she looked at the ladies and took another deep breath in and out, in and out. Ms. B said, "Welcome, Connie, to our lovely school. We are so pleased to have you here." Connie noticed her big smile and the other ladies also nodding and smiling at her. Connie smiled back and wagged her tail. She then decided to walk up the long passageway. She found another nice room where Mrs. T sat. There were bright and colourful pictures on the walls and a lot of children's books on some tall shelves. Mrs. T smiled at her, said hello, and showed Connie a bright green monkey toy that was sitting on her bookshelf. She told Connie that monkey was just for her and she could play with it whenever she liked. Connie felt happy, waved her tail, and then trotted back to her own little room. Connie took another deep breath in and out and started to notice that the little nervous feeling she had had in her tummy was starting to go away. Connie then heard some happy chattering and looked up to see some friendly students beaming at her. The girl and boy asked Connie's mum if they could take Connie for a walk outside, to show her around and to visit the vegetable garden. Connie looked at her mum with a sparkle in her eyes. Mum calmly nodded, smiled and said, "Yes, it's time for you to meet some friends and go on an adventure. I will see you afterwards when it is time for your rest." Connie gave a little bark, jumped up and down, and walked outside with her two new friends. Connie looked around and loved what she saw. There were many lovely paths and lots of green grass to run on, just like Mum had said. Connie ran onto the grass and put her nose down, smelling all the interesting and different scents. She tilted her head from side to side as she thought how wonderful everything looked. There were big shady trees with birds sitting on their branches, brightly coloured flowers in wooden tubs, like purple vincas with their 5 delicate petals, and red geraniums with their clusters of velvet petals. Connie ran to smell the flowers, and just at that moment, a beautiful butterfly landed on a purple vinca. Connie barked, and the butterfly flew off into the air, flittering just above her head, and Connie chased it as it flew up and over one of the small grassy hills. She ran up and down the hill, having fun, feeling happy and free as the children laughed and ran behind her. As Connie slowed down to a walk, she suddenly noticed a vegetable garden at the end of the path, sitting behind a green fence. It looked just like the one her mum had described to her. There were leafy green tomato vines growing up the brick walls, with little cherry red tomatoes peeking out. Different herbs in the garden beds, like coriander and mint, and a lemon tree with a strong brown trunk and bright yellow lemons ready to drop from their branches. Connie noticed a little black and white willy wagtail sitting in the lemon tree, chirping cheekily at Connie and waving its little feathered tail at her. Connie barked joyfully and waved her fluffy tail in return. After a while, Connie decided to sit on the cool grass under one of the tall, shady trees. The children gave her a pat, and she felt relaxed as she looked around and enjoyed the view of the school grounds. Suddenly, in the distance, Connie saw a little girl trip on the path, dropping her pencil and falling to the ground. Connie leapt up and ran over to the little girl to see if she was okay. The little girl sat up and Connie gently nudged her arm. Connie then picked up her pencil in her mouth and gave it back to the little girl. She gave Connie a smile and said, "Thank you so much, Connie." Connie woofed back and the little girl laughed. The other children then ran over to help, and together they walked her back to class. When Mama and Connie drove home after a very busy and fun day, Connie trotted straight to her basket for a much-needed rest. She took a big yawn, snuggled into her blanket, and felt happy that she had enjoyed her very first day as the school's wellbeing dog. Mum smiled down at her and said, "You did a very good job today at school, Connie." Connie then thought to herself, "I wonder what adventures I will have at school tomorrow. Maybe I could wear my bumblebee costume," she woofed. Connie took another deep, satisfied yawn, put her head down, closed her eyes, and fell fast asleep. Can you think of a time when you started somewhere new? Maybe the school you go to, a new sporting team, or a club? Did you feel a little nervous and excited like Connie did on her first day? How did you feel after you did this brave thing? Proud of yourself or happy like Connie? We are all a little brave sometimes, aren't we? Continue to notice your gentle deep breathing in and out, and enjoy this peaceful and relaxing time for a little while longer. In a moment, you will hear a bell. See if you can listen to the bell all the way to its very last ring. And when you are ready, wiggle your toes and fingers and gently open your eyes.